Often in politics, they talk about an October surprise. Who knew this would come? From the FBI Director James Comey. It was on Friday. He revealed a letter sent to Congress with regards to emails that were discovered on a laptop of Huma Abedin. Of course, she is the longtime aide to Hillary Clinton, who is married to Anthony Weiner, former congressman. They were investigating Anthony Weiner for possible sexting of a young woman when they discovered these emails. Well, Comey sent a letter to Congress saying that the emails appear to be pertinent to the investigation, and the FBI cannot yet assess whether or not the material may be significant. This, of course, changed everything this weekend, leaving Republicans, leaving Democrats scrambling, trying to figure out what in the world Comey is talking about and what impact could it have on the election. The Wall Street Journal reports that there could be thousands of emails sent or received from Hillary Clinton's private server. Now, the bottom line is no one knows for sure. It wasn't until yesterday the FBI actually received a warrant to actually even look at the emails. The announcement stunned the Clinton campaign, who thought the investigation into her emails was behind them after Comey announced in July that no criminal charges were warranted against Clinton. In a rare news conference, she demanded that Comey release more information.
Voting is already underway in our country. So the American people deserve to get the full and complete facts immediately. The director himself has said he doesn't know whether the emails referenced in his letter are significant or not. I'm confident, whatever they are, will not change the conclusion reached in July. Therefore, it's imperative that the Bureau explain this issue in question, whatever it is, without any delay.
Of course, the Trump campaign jumped on this news. They feel it reinvigorated as a result of it. Of course, Trump praised the FBI when previously he blasted Comey, calling the system rigged. Now he used a new disclosure to double down on his attacks against Hillary Clinton as a criminal.
We never thought we were going to say thank you to Anthony Weiner. This is the biggest political scandal since Watergate. We must not let her take her criminal scheme into the Oval Office. Hillary has nobody but herself to blame.
Of course, both campaigns went at it yesterday on the Sunday morning news shows. Here's Clinton campaign chairman John Podesta speaking on the issue.
It was long on innuendo, short on facts. So we're calling on Mr. Comey to come forward and explain what's at issue here. So far there's no charge of wrongdoing. There's no charge even that Hillary and the reporting that backs it up coming from anonymous law enforcement sources indicates it may not be about her server. It may not be about her at all. So I think this is something that has been tossed into the middle of a campaign.
Of course, Kellyanne Conway, Trump's campaign manager, defended Comey yesterday, saying he had no choice and did the right thing.
He was in an impossible spot, it would seem to me, 11 days before an election. Had he sat on the information, one can argue that he also would be interfering with the election by not disclosing to the public that yet again, for the second time in a year, Hillary Clinton is under FBI investigation for something of her own doing.
Former AG Eric Holder wrote a commentary piece in the Washington Post where he said this with regards to Comey, quote, his unprecedented decisions leaves us both astonished and perplexed. The director's disclosure has invited considerable uninformed public speculation just days before a national election. Also, Eric Holder, again, said that he's a good man, but the bottom line is made a bad decision. Also, Senator Harry Reid wrote his own letter where he blasted Comey, saying he also was potentially he said he violated the Hatch Act as well. This is what he said. The clear double standard established by your actions strongly suggests that your highly selective approach to publicizing information, along with your timing, was intended for the success or failure of a partisan candidate or political group. Joining us right now, former federal prosecutor Glenn Ivey, partner at Leftwich and Littleway Law Firm. Also joining us on the panel today, Rashad Robinson, Executive Director of ColorChange.org. Eugene Craig III, Vice Chairman, Maryland Republican Party. Jessica Bird, Principal, 3 Point Strategy. Spencer Overton, President and CEO, Joint Center for Political and Economic Studies. Glenn, first and foremost, it's amazing to read all of these former prosecutors in the Department of Justice who say, and even Eric Holder said, he violated an established rule by releasing information that could have an adverse impact on the election?
Yeah, I think when he did this the first time around, all of us said we'd never seen this happen with the Department of Justice, especially with the FBI. They hardly ever make any kind of public statements about an ongoing or a completed investigation even. And this really compounds the problem, I guess, again, especially this close to the election.
Is it also difficult because look, he says, well, we're not sure if it's pertinent. Okay, so what is the whole point of making this huge deal? Not only that, he sends one letter to Congress. Then, after the blowback, sends another letter to FBI employees.
Yeah, I'm not sure what was going on in his mind here with all of this. Again, typically they don't make these kind of disclosures at all. They work with the Department of Justice. The Attorney General or the U.S. Attorney who might be handling the investigation would make any public statement. But this is the beginning of an investigation at best. Apparently they haven't even gone through the emails. They don't know what's there. So making a public statement now really didn't make a lot of sense.
Should Comey hold a news conference today? Because again, we've heard folks from the Clinton campaign say he should. Congressional members of the CBC say he should as well, saying that there's no way he can allow this to go on another day where folks are not sure what to make of his letter.
I mean, the challenge would be he hasn't gone through the emails, and if there are thousands of them, like they've said, they wouldn't have time to really get through them. So it would be odd to see what he would say. I don't know what he would say. I guess he could try and clarify what he's done, but this is going to be a hard mess to fix.
Spencer.
Yeah. You know, this is not just Eric Holder who has called this out. Larry Thompson, number 2 in the Bush administration in the Department of Justice, has said that this is a problem. And the very reason we have this policy at DOJ, and you know, I used to be at DOJ, the very reason we have this is to prevent these types of situations where you have a letter that comes out and suddenly you change an entire news cycle. And it's not just one news cycle. It could be several news cycles immediately before an election.
Well, Rashad, what is interesting here is that he makes this decision, and he got lots of criticism in July. But he makes a decision, and DOJ repeatedly said, don't do this.
And in many ways, it's like he's thinking about what he's going to do next. Where does he land? Who are his people? And he's gotten a whole lot of criticism over the last several months from Republicans that he didn't go far enough, from people on the right that he didn't go far enough. And that would be the community he would go back to. So one almost has to wonder, in many ways, of him trying to put his finger on the scale in terms of responding to the pressure and the criticism that he's been getting out in the world and really overstepping. I mean, this is also an example of why you don't want your law enforcement folks being your political folks.
Right.
He has stepped out into a territory that he is not prepared to do, and he's performed quite horribly.
You know, even J. Edgar Hoover couldn't think of a political move like this in his, greatest of days. What Comey did is reprehensible. He shouldn't be trying to affect an election 11 days out. If there was actually something there, you deal with it internally. You actually conduct an investigation. You don't jump out and release a statement, let alone you give congressional members like Jason Chaffetz a letter that they're going to make political hay out of. They're going to make political hay out of it.
And let me just say, this is a guy who has integrity. In the past, he has stood up to officials. You remember in the Bush administration, they said, Comey don't play this,
Yep.
right? Because he stepped up and pushed back on direction from the White House, right? So this really tarnishes his legacy. It threatens to tarnish his legacy.
Jessica, go ahead.
Even more than that, I think that it tarnishes our political process, right? And I think that we are in a mode now where, as a person who talks to black voters and black candidates every day, people believe that this election cycle not only feels emotionally abusive, but now intellectually insulting because of the way that we tell this story. We're not bringing more people into the process by letting them know what exactly happens in this type of investigation. We're just making a scandal out of it.
Well, and in fact, Spencer alluded to this, folks. This is a letter that was co-authored by former Deputy Attorney General Jamie Gorelick, as well as he said, Larry Thompson, who's also former Deputy Attorney General, one serving under a Democrat, one serving under a Republican. They say that Comey's decision is damaging democracy. Right. They wrote, quote, decades ago, the department decided that in the 60-day period before an election, The balance should be struck against even returning indictments involving individuals running for office, as well as against the disclosure of any investigative steps. Again, they lay out that this is exactly why you don't do it. Now you're seeing the latest ABC tracking poll. Hillary Clinton is up 1 point against Donald Trump. Some say that this could even, Democrats appear to be on their way to winning the United States Senate. This all of a sudden has allowed Republicans to go on the offensive. I mean, this changes a whole lot.
You want to see I'm sitting here thinking about an actual example of, where we had 2008, when Mark Begich of Alaska, U.S. Senator who was under investigation, who was later found to be, completely innocent, but that investigation tarnished his whole entire election process. We spent a lot of time here discussing, justice and justice being fair, and I think a big part of that is that we expect our justice system to be completely unbiased, completely fair, and completely nonpartisan.
I was, first of all, two unlikely people. So I'm sitting looking on Twitter. Joe Walsh, former congressman, who's absolutely out of his mind nuts. With his grab a musket or whatever, if Hillary Clinton wins, he tweets out that Hillary Clinton being unfairly treated. Janine Pereiro of Fox News, she even said, a former attorney as well, elected official, who said, Glenn, bottom line, that Hillary Clinton is being treated unfairly. So it's stunning to see Republicans, who would think that they would be, lauding this news, say this is unfair to even Hillary Clinton.
It is problematic for sure. And the other piece, too, is early voting. I mean, I voted Saturday night. And so sometimes these sorts of late bombshells would moderate over time. But people are going to be voting today, and they voted over the weekend in some states. So you've got some votes that are going to be irreparably changed, and we won't know which ones those are. And it definitely could impact the Senate and the House races down ballot.
Now, Clinton folks say that's not the case. But again, you do see folks voting. Look, Rashad, any small shift could change the entire election.
Absolutely. I mean, our elections have been close in this country, and we've seen elections come down to, several hundred votes in some states. And so this is exactly why you don't want, government officials putting their hands on the scales. But we are in this election moment. Issues around Access Hollywood and sexting are sort of the predominant conversations that are shifting whether or not, who's going to be president, and not sort of the ways in which Americans will either move forward or get set behind because of the policies of either one of the candidates. So not only is it disappointing for democracy that the things are being put on the scale, but the way in which the issues that are being brought forward and what people have to deal with in terms of making their choices, it's quite sad.
Am I the only person who thinks we're going to need serious professional help, lots of therapy when this election is over?
Yes. This is a stimulus program for therapists.
Jonathan Van Zandt fix my country. That's how bad this election is.
What's the Obamacare rate on therapy, right? Yes.
What we do now is going up 25% of that premium.
Yeah, but you're still going to have subsidies, so you'll get hooked up.
Right,
So, all right. Kickstart your day at 7 and get the news you need from the perspective you want. NewsOne Now with Roland Martin. Every weekday morning at 7 on TV 1.